Hey guys, Roland here, and today I'm gonna talk about the 5 things I love and hate about Resident Evil Village. Let's start with the bad bits, so that we can end on a high note and jump into the first bit I seriously dislike about this game, which is the performance issues. Besides the fact that the menu for this game is obviously badly ported from consoles, I mean damn, in order to select the resolution that you want to use, you have to go through them one step at a time and change the resolution multiple times in order to get where you want. Instead of having a drop box to select the resolution from, the game has obviously some performance issues. From low frame rates in certain areas regardless of your PC's performance, to FPS drops when you take out enemies, but worst of all is when you fight the daughters. God forbid you will have those bugs next to you or one of the daughters is ready to attack you, because if that happens, your screen will plain and simple freeze for a fraction of a second, and this completely ruins the experience for me. The game is extremely immersive, but when those frame issues hit, it's like a punch in the guts that reminds you of the mistakes the developers made, and makes you wonder if they even tested the game before they released it. It pulls you out of the game, and personally, it made me not want to play the game anymore and just ask for a refund. Up next we have painfully mediocre boss fights. With the exception of Carl Heisenberg's boss fight and maybe Salvatore Moreau if I'm being generous, the boss fights in Resident Evil Village are a bad joke that costs 60 euros. From easily cheesable to obvious patterns, the boss fights feel like they were taken out of a bad indie game and just upgraded graphically to suit modern visuals, with some exceptions. I mean, if you look too hard at the flames on the floor when you fight the propeller head, you will ask yourself, what year are we in? And why are the flames looking like this is a PS1 game? It's not all bad. I've enjoyed the Lady Dumitrescu boss fight as it features destructible elements and great visuals, but it can be easily cheesed if you hide in certain spots. Also, it's extremely weird that Lady Dumitrescu only chases you in certain parts of the house. Why isn't she ambushing you when you are out in the courtyard? Or maybe because it's daylight outside, I don't know. But then again, when you finally get to fight her, it's in broad daylight, so there's a lot of little similar things like this that makes the game feel a little bit rushed, or might reveal that the developers adopted the good enough mentality and just moved on to the next thing. Oh, and let's talk about the dollhouse. While I think that the level design is absolutely fantastic on that one, the boss fight, if you can call it that, is so bad that it makes you wanna go and play some Duke Nukem Forever. Next up, we have the flashlights. And guys, this is not a Resident Evil thing only, but why do game developers always make it so that the flashlight lightens up the path in front of you only like 2 meters or so? Why is this a thing in gaming? We all know that this is not how it works, and while I understand from an atmosphere perspective why the developers do that, I think maybe a better and more realistic thing to do would be to just replace the flashlight with a Zippo. The fourth thing I want to talk about when it comes to things that I dislike about the game are the lockpicks. The game heavily teases you throughout its playthrough with drawers that are not accessible unless you have a lockpick. It does a great job in building up anticipation to the moment when you finally get to open them, although you have weapons, knives and other goodies that you could use. But when you finally start finding lockpicks and open up the drawers, most of the time you will be disappointed in what you will find in them, and eventually you won't bother anymore as they are not worth your time. And the final bit that I dislike about this game, Ethan is one of the worst protagonists in any game that I've played. When he talks, he sounds like the type of guy that gets his wife stolen from him by another guy and then asks them if he could book a reservation to a fancy restaurant for the new couple to have a romantic dinner. In some of the cutscenes, he comes off as a low IQ'd individual. For example, in the beginning when you save the old guy and that eventually he transforms into a werewolf and starts killing everybody, Ethan just sits around enjoying the view and instead of just pulling out his weapon and finishing the job. Oh, and talk about low IQ individuals. What the f***, Elena? Ethan went through hell and back in the previous game, and yet he still sounds like this is the first time he encounters mythical creatures. And by the way, did I mention that he can't jump? Why did they make Ethan so unathletic that he can't even jump over a 1-meter fence? I mean, come on, I understand that the game always tries to guide you in certain directions, but some of the gameplay designs are just outdated here. And don't even get me started about Ethan's lack of a face reveal. I mean, why? Why are you going out of your way to hide his face? Why are you forcing cutscenes to look awkward just so you can hide his face? Is it that ugly? Maybe he does deserve for his wife to get taken away from him. Okay guys, but enough about the sour grapes. Let's talk about the good stuff. First up, we have the level design and exploration. The sun rising on the village looks splendid. Castle Dumitrescu's colors are astonishing. The dollhouse gives you a great sense of dread, and Heisenberg's factory makes you feel a certain type of discomfort. All in all, I love the level design and the setting of the game. It looks and feels legit as you push your way through the many challenges that the game puts in front of you. The exploration part of the game is great and I've enjoyed collecting every little thing that I could as I was taking my breath and psychologically getting ready for the next fight. Exploration does a great job in offering you a stimulating and relaxing activity in between the action sequences, and it does a good job in balancing out the pacing of the game. It's also a big plus in my book that this time around the enemy diversity is higher than in the previous game, and this just gives more life to the world that the game puts you in. It's very immersive and it makes you forget about your day-to-day routine, at least until your frames drop into the abyss, and then it reminds you that you paid 60 euros for a game that needs more working on it. The next great thing about this game is the sound. Guys, you need to play this game with a good headset. Don't pussy out and don't play it with speakers, cause you are missing out on the fun, or the dread to be precise. Every little wood creak, strange noises in the distance, werewolf growling, big oinking makes the game so much better. It complements the gameplay and the visuals by a mile, and you will have a much better experience if you use headsets while playing. The sound design is great, and I'd venture to say that it's one of the best things in the game. Up next, we have the change of pacing towards the end. I liked a lot how the pace changed once you were getting closer to the end of the game, and it's a welcome change, as before you get to this point you always try to survive, to scavenge, and to avoid conflict if possible. So seeing Ethan transform into this werewolf exterminator is pretty satisfying, and dare I say, it would even make the Doom guy look slightly jealous. Chris Redfield's section makes the game become Call of Duty with werewolves, and in my opinion that's not a bad thing, and it mixes up things in a nice way that gives you a sense of urgency. And when you hit that part of the game, just like when you were younger and you were watching a Van Damme flick, towards the end before he fights another character portrayed by Bolo Young, you knew shit is about to get down, and it does, and it's great. I think overall Resident Evil 8 looks very good. The game engine used here is quite popular by this point, as it was used in the previous game and the 2 remakes that were preceded by this game, so you really can't go wrong with it. And although there were some pop-ins here and there, I can honestly say that the game looks as good as you would expect it. Let's just not talk about the flames on the floor and it's all good. And the last enjoyable part that I will talk about when it comes to this overall pretty good game is the Duke. This guy will give you equipment, expand your abilities, and cook for you. What do you want more? You always feel relief when you see him, because usually this means that you are safe in the zone, and that's a good sentiment to have, especially after a big fight where you were desperately fighting for survival, while you balance out running with fighting in order to save bullets. The only thing that I would have loved to see the Duke do more is to interact with other characters. That's a missed opportunity in my opinion, and it would have added to his character. So that's about it guys for this video today. This is gonna be the first of many. I plan on doing similarly edited videos in the future with stuff that I like and dislike on new games. I will still do the older videos where I talk about older games if they're still fun to play in our days. Guys, thank you very much for watching. If you appreciate... I'm getting tired. If you appreciate what you just saw here and you like what you see on the channel, leave some feedback, hit that like button, maybe share the channel with your friends, definitely subscribe because more is coming. Until next time, stay safe, stay clean, and stay strong.